So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this communion together, Shamanic Communion, as we called it. I'm really excited to be with you on this beginning of the year. And so we are going to be together for an hour and a half, maybe a little bit more. And there will be different parts in the call. Somewhere I'll be sharing, and somewhere you'll be more diving in into different elements that I'm going to share. And so I just want to share first that the idea of the shamanic communion came to me a few months ago as I was doing a ceremony, and there was a deep calling from spirit to try to bring us together. So whoever is there, I trust that's the group that needs to be there tonight. And my goal here is that we make it something together also, so that you feel inspired by what we share, that supports you for your own journey, wherever you are at on your own journey. We are in particularly intense time, I feel, for humanity and for our communities and for our planet at the moment. And, wherever you're living, there is probably something going on in your community, going on maybe with the forest, going on with the environment, going on with our brothers and our sisters. And I feel really deeply called this year at the work we're doing at the sanctuary to bring more of those community events. And I know it's not like meeting face to face. Some of you may be quite far. If you want to share, by the way, in the chat, I'd love to know where you are. So you can use the chat box at the bottom and just put maybe your city and your country if you're not in the US. So I can get a sense of where you are. So just press chat button at the bottom and just send the chat to everyone so we can know where you are and have an idea of the map of the world that is present here tonight. And so I'm going to open the call tonight with a prayer. It's a prayer that's traditional in my tradition. So I train in mainly with the Andean cosmology, so Peruvian shamanism, and also with Native Americans. And so I invite you to dive into that prayer to see what resonates for you as I open it. So maybe closing your eyes, and connecting to the words of that prayer and see, what is there for you tonight. And we'll be sharing intention right after that. Oh, Virginia, Michigan, New York, Connecticut, PA. Well, we've got people from all over. That's wonderful. Yeah, so just close your eyes and inviting you to connect with your heart, to really open the space together so we can connect. Even if we're not next to each other, we can enter this sacred space together. Oh, great spirit, great mystery. Thank you. Thank you for this life. Thank you for this new day. Thank you for this breath and this body. Thank you for bringing us together tonight in this sacred circle. Calling the grandmothers and the grandfathers of the East, the gatekeepers of the East. Grandfather Fire. Grandfather, bring your light, your warmth into our hearts. Show us the place that we need to see. Burn and release what doesn't serve us anymore. Thank you for bringing the prayer of gratitude, Grandfather. Thank you for reminding us of this first prayer as we open our eyes in the morning and as we are given a new day to live. Grandfather Puma, Grandmother Jaguar, brings your gift of sight. Help us to walk with our fire in a humble way, with strength and with gratitude. Calling the grandmothers and the grandfather of the West, the gatekeepers of the West. Grandmother Water. Thank you, grandmother, for our lives, for sustaining life in all my relations. Thank you for bringing us the prayer of clarity, teaching us how to see clearly in our lives, clearly in our prayers. Thank you for reminding us to take care of our waters, have clear waters. Thank you for your vibration and your wisdom. Grandfather Eagle and Grandmother Condor, we thank you. Thank you for teaching us to see from heights, from tops, with clarity, seeing the clear detail on our path. Thank you for guarding the west door. Calling the grandmothers and the grandfather of the north. Grandfather Wind. Thank you, grandfather, for carrying our prayers to the Creator. Thank you for bringing the prayers of all our relation into our hearts. Thank you for bringing the prayer of unity and reminding us that there is no others, that it's all an illusion. Grandfather dear, thank you for guarding these gates. Thank you for showing how to walk in unity, to see in unity, to speak in unity. Calling the grandmother and the grandfather of the South, Grandmother Earth, the mother of all mothers. Thank you, grandmother, for teaching us the prayer of love, of unconditional love, showing us how to give. Thank you, grandmother, for your care, your gift of life, the food, the waters, the animals and the trees, the plants. Thank you for all of creation on this beautiful planet. Grandmother Snake, thank you for keeping these gates and teaching us how to walk on the earth softly, gently. Grandmother Spider, thank you for showing us how everything is connected, reminding us of our connection with each other, reminding us that nothing is random in our life. Everything carries wisdom. To the great spirits of above, spirit of the sky, star beings, spirits beyond the sky, we're calling you to our space. Thank you for protecting us on this journey, watching upon us and sharing your wisdom. To the spirit of below, thank you for holding us, reminding us of our soul journeys, reminding us of the wisdom we carry. Thank you, great spirit. May we all be guided tonight. May we receive the wisdom we need. May we trust the way we receive our message. May we hear them. May we open our hearts so we can receive it. Aho. Mm. So I invite you to bring an intention tonight or prayer, whatever is alive right now in your heart. Maybe you've been worried today. Maybe you were happy today, angry, grateful, whatever is alive right now. So, what is that intention at the core of your being that you want to bring? Maybe you can write it down. Maybe it's a relation you want to heal with yourself, with someone else. Maybe it's something you want to create in your life. Maybe it's something that's in the way and yet you want to release and you want guidance about it. So just take a minute to think about that intention as we starting this new year, this month of January, maybe reflecting on the past 12 months. Maybe you've set up intention already for this new year. So what is alive right now in your heart? And as you set that intention, I invite you to release it, just to put it out there, not to cling to it, not to be too attached to it. Knowing it's heard. If it's in your heart, it's been heard. There's no need to repeat our prayer. An elder told me one time, say, you don't need to pray every day for the same thing. If you trust, if you believe, you just put it once out there. That's it. It's come from the core of your beings, from the depths of your heart. It's being heard. The creator is not death. He doesn't need to us to repeat. So what is that intention? And if you feel like sharing one word about that intention, I invite you to just share it in the chat. It could be release, it could be gratitude, it could be physical healing, whatever it is, just share it there. So we put it there so we can connect, we can see everybody intention. And very often, it's my experience in sacred space, in ceremonies, when we share our intention, your intention is often mine. There's nothing someone share that I cannot resonate with. I was like, oh yes, I would love some release on that, some serving, some focus, trust, practice, all the things you're sharing here. And I love the sharing of intention because it can allow us to really connect with more compassion to each other, realizing that there's nothing there that I haven't not experienced in my life. Patience and understanding, yes, that's something can definitely relate to. Courage, focus on our bodies, yeah, all of that are beautiful intention. So I want to talk a little bit about this month of January because we have this call every month. And the month of January, so we just had a full moon a few days ago. And that moon in January, Native Americans call it the wolf moon or the wolf and coyote moon. And the reason they call it that way is because it's the time of the year where the wolf and the coyotes owls at night, sing at night in the forest, and we can hear their calls. Interestingly enough, we were having a ceremony here on Friday, and we heard some coyote singing before we went into ceremony. and before we saw the moon coming. That was quite beautiful. And so, what's there in this calling? You know, the nature of shamanic work is always to see everything as a reflection of ourselves. Either it's a tree, an animal, a river, a mountain. There's always wisdom that's carried there. And you don't need to uh, have telekinesis or telepathic capacity to understand. You can just watch and understand in your humanness. What is this howling at night means to you? This calling. So we are in the darkest night, the longest night. Now it started to increase a little bit because we passed the solstice a few weeks ago, but we're still quite in long nights. The sun rise quite late and set quite early. And there is this calling during the nights, this calling of the animals that are calling each other, reminding us that in this darkness, in this silence of the night, there is still a voice there. There is still something that's calling. So I went to walk today on the river, and I was doing a prayer and preparing the call tonight. And the month of January, you know, here where I am in the Catskills in New York, it's pretty cold. Today was a very warm day, uh, almost like a spring day. But the forests are very silent. There's nothing growing yet. Everything is underground. There was a few birds. I saw an eagle. The river were quite full with the rain. So there was this still silence, still that was there, very present. And as I sat there, what really was coming to me was this calling for going inside, inwards, for going deep, for mirroring nature as we are part of it, and going into my roots, not looking to create something, to plant seeds, just to settle back, to slow down, to be, which is something so hard to do in our society today, where we're always on the move, always doing something. We're the only animal on the planet that doesn't follow the nature cycle anymore. We're the only one compared to our brothers and sister trees and plants that doesn't take rest for a few months and slow down. And then we wonder why we're sick, not just in our bodies, but in our heads. We wonder why the healing doesn't happen. So this month of January, and I know it feels like a new year and we have so many intentions and we won't get going, but I always invite myself and the people I work with to continue to slowing down, to continue to look inward. You know, it's like a farmer. If you plant a seed and then you will go every day and see the seed has grown and you scream at the seed and you're upset about it, that would be a little bit crazy, you know. So right now we're not even planting seeds. We're just letting the earth rest, letting our bodies rest. That's the earth for us. So honoring this resting, honoring the slowing down, acknowledging that we need that in order to grow again. We rarely do that. I mean, we take a weekend sometime, 1 day, 2 days, maybe we take a small short holidays, a few days. But if you think of it, we never take those few months like all of nature does. So that's the energy that's present around us right now. And we connected to that energy. So if we try to do something different, obviously it can feel like exhaustion, like tiredness, because there's not enough energy yet in the earth to carry us for new growth. So maybe you can write about that. Maybe there's something you feel like, oh yeah, I'm always on the move. What is that one thing I could do maybe to rest a little bit more, to allow myself to do nothing? Take a day for that. and connect to nature, because once we align our frequency, our vibration to that frame that's around us, we can tap into its wisdom. If we're going at a different speed, we cannot tap into that wisdom. If we don't align our hearts with the hearts that are around us. So inviting you to allow that for these months. And maybe you're like, well, it's impossible. I have a crazy job and I have kids. I need to do a lot of things, but I'm not talking about taking 2 months off or a month off from work, but maybe see how you can nurture a little bit more space, because that space you're going to nurture to slow down, you can align yourself with the ground right now, with the soil, with the seed and the roots of the tree that are dormant. I mean, the roots are growing, the seeds are dormant, but we're going inwards. So in that month of January, and here, I mean, there's someone from Australia here, so it's summer, but here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's winter. We're at the core of winter. And winter is connected to the north direction in shamanic on the medicine wheel. And the north element is the wind. And there was a beautiful wind today when I was sitting outside, just passing through the forest. And the wind, it doesn't slow down at the moment because there's no leaves, there's no plants. So the wind has its full power to go through the trees. We had a big windstorm, in fact, last night and this morning here. And the wind is the one that carry that wisdom and those prayers from us to the creator, and that bring the prayers from our relations to us. So it's a beautiful element for connection to spirit, for connection to prayer. And in my opening prayer earlier, I don't know if you remember it, but I mentioned the prayer of unity. So in my tradition, the direction of the north, the wind, we say the wind carried the prayer of unity, because we all breathe the same air. This inhale I'm taking right now maybe was an exhale of a tree a minute ago, and my exhale is going to be an inhale for a plant or for an animal, and vice versa. So we share this breath with all our relations. So that's the month of January, the north, the winter, the roots, the prayer of unity, the resting. That's the wisdom that is there for us to open to. My experience is that when we try to go against nature, it doesn't work very well. It doesn't work very well. And so the rhythm of nature, we follow them a little bit. We wake up with sunrise or not far away from it. We go to bed with when the sun goes down, but we don't follow the bigger cycle. So we are always on the run every day. Every day is the same. Wake up, go to bed, wake. But we don't change that cycle. We don't allow ourselves to sleep more in winter and have shorter days. And if you think about it, that's pretty recent. Until the invention of electricity, we used to live much more aligned with the real cycle of the sun. We used to be more attuned, obviously, with nature because we depended on nature more for feeding us, resting, providing certain food at certain time of the year. So despite we live in a world that's very different, we still have the opportunity to connect to that. And maybe it's just through a walk in the forest where you can just go and for an hour, or in a park, and just connect to that and see what's there. And maybe there will be anxiety. Maybe there will be a running mind that's going to start spinning, and you're going to realize all this busyness, very fiery energy that's present inside. So let's try to connect to that as we walk this month. Let's try to remember the teachings of our elders, which are the trees, the plants, the mountain, the rivers. They were here before us, so they know more. That's what we believe, because we have experienced that. We know they've seen so much more than we do. Trees were here hundreds of millions of years before us, so they've seen a lot. So they carry more wisdom. That's why we try to connect with them. Just by watching them, doesn't mean you're going to hear a voice in your head. Just watching them is enough. Just seeing what they do. Like a kid would observe his parents. I just observe the tree. And I'm like a little child, curious. What are you doing right now? Why are you slowing down? Maybe that's why they live so long, much longer than we do. So in January, inviting you to bring that focus on the wind, on that element. And that's an element which many people are not very connected to somehow. People connect to the fire, to the waters a lot, maybe the earth, but the wind, I feel sometimes is often this missed element. It's like we don't feel the connection there. And the four directions are all as important. So if we connect deeply with the water, we need to be able to connect deeply with the wind and see its teaching there, what is there for us. So I'm going to share with you some shamanic cards. I'm going to do a reading. So I pulled the card a little bit earlier before the call, so they could be ready for our call. And the spread I am using here use the four direction. So there's four cards that I'm using. Here they are. So there's a card in the east, in the west, in the north, and in the south. So the east card express the spiritual door that we are opening right now in our life. So that card is the spiritual seed that needs fertile ground and nurturing, which is very aligned with what I was sharing earlier. And here is the first card, Sacred Space. Can you see that? No, you can't see that. Okay, let me see, resume share. Okay, let me redo that. Okay. There you go. Can you see now? Yes. Sacred Space. So that's the first card. So you can just take note of it, put it on the east direction. And so the concept of sacred space in native wisdom is a reflection of the inner sacred space we need to create, but it's a sacred space that exists outside of us, somewhere in nature. And in native wisdom, every place on the earth is sacred. So it's not like it's a spatial place. Obviously, there is sacred space that have been used for a very long time by natives, maybe some caves, some mountains. But the idea of the sacred space is a space that is sacred to you, a place that resonates with you. And the reason it's sacred to you is because you have a connection to it. And we create that sacred space by going in nature and looking for a spot somewhere that calls us. Maybe it's a big rock. Maybe it's on the side of a river. Maybe it's a big tree. And even if you live in the city, you can find that space. And we sit there with the intention to connect to the wisdom of that space because it's been calling us. And it is through sitting there, potentially making an offering, maybe sacred tobacco, for example, if you carry tobacco, that we open ourselves to listening to that connection. And that's very aligned with what's going on in January here. Meaning that by slowing down and sitting in my sacred space, I can receive the wisdom of the stone people, of the earth, of the trees that are present there. And it becomes sacred by the intention I'm bringing to sit there. So maybe you already have that place, maybe you don't. But that spread of card inviting us to connect to that sacred space, to that ground. And so it's a space where you can go for prayer and you can go for wisdom, but the more you're going to go there, the more that space is going to open and bring things to you. Maybe it's going to be a thought, an idea, a guidance, wisdom. But it doesn't open if we just go once, you know. It's the care we put in that sacred space, the intention we put in the sacred space that's going to open it. Shamanic work is all about relationship with self, with trees, with animals, with rivers, with mountain, with rocks. And it doesn't require to be a magician, to have special gift. It just requires to be human and humble. And so if I go frequently to the same space and I humble myself enough, something going to start happening in that space. But we can expand the sacred space beyond that. We can bring it back into our home and look at our home as a sacred space. In Native American tradition, we don't separate spiritual practice from living life. We don't separate sacred sites from non-sacred sites. Everything is sacred. So my home need also that intention, that attention. Maybe my bedroom, maybe my altar, that little sacred space I create somewhere. And we can continue expanding it more towards us and look at our bodies as the ultimate sacred space, this vehicle that carry our soul, this breath, this life. And looking how much attention and relationship I have there, how much care and love I give to that. It's beautiful to give, offering to a river, a forest, a sacred site where people have prayed for thousands of years. But can we do that with our bodies? Can we bring that sacred space within too? And what do I need to cultivate? So I invite you just to reflect on that. Maybe write something that, hey, there is something you realize you would love to do there. Because the spread is about the east door where this card was, is about what's needed as a seed to enter this spread of cards, to enter that wisdom that's going to flow through those 4 cards. So Spirit here is asking us to connect first to a sacred space. And see how we take care of that sacred space. That means also, and I want to finish by that on this card, that we need to be mindful about who we invite in our sacred space. In the same way, we need to be mindful of what food we put in our body, what thoughts we let come into our minds, but who do we invite into our sacred space? If we allow others to be destructive in our sacred space, on some level, we don't really have the guts to be disliked, which should be fine. So that happiness begins within, with that sacred space, and then we can expand it. And if you do that work with an external sacred space and bring it back home and look at within, you have 3 great places to see how aligned it is here. Which part of these 3 areas of your life, maybe the sacred space can be nurtured more, can be made sacred. So that's the first spread, the first card, sorry, on that spread. The second card is in the south, and the south express where your face should be placed. So where we should put more face, where, like here we're starting to move. Okay, so here I have my sacred space. What do I need to move into to open that wisdom? And the card here is a coral. Which is very interesting because coral represent nurturing. So coral and turquoise are 2 stones. I mean, coral is an animal, but there are 2 stones that are used by Native Americans for their jewelry. And coral obviously is from the sea. And the coral represents the blood of the earth, the blood of Mother Earth. And turquoise, obviously, I just mentioned it, so I'm just putting it out there. Turquoise, obviously, is from the soil, it's not from the waters, and represent the sky nation. So that's why those 2 stones are very often together. You have the blood of the earth and the sky nation together. So the coral is here to remind us about the nurturing aspect in our life, how much we nurture ourselves. And I found it quite interesting because I took that card randomly, obviously, we can say, but Spirit knew like we're in January and somehow it really fits with the wisdom of this month, which is about nurturing. So that card really invites us to look at nurturing and the idea of nurturing. And how much do we nurture ourselves and one another? Or maybe we refuse to be nurtured. We push others away. So coral really invites us into our bodies, into the blood. And pay attention how much we are nurturing those bodies. But the other dimension of coral, because it's this blood of the earth, that speaks of our family, the planetary family. So maybe if you feel lonely or alone, it could be a time to start having reunions with others and start connecting with others. And that's what coral is inviting us to. So coral is really inviting us into our body to listen to our feelings and see where the discomfort is. And maybe there's feeling we've been ignoring, and our feelings live inside our bodies. And so remember, if you feel, you can heal. We cannot heal if we don't want to feel our bodies. And sometimes it can be very difficult, and we want to keep running around and maybe finding some addiction that prevent us from slowing down. It could be to internet, to TV, to social life, to family life. So we avoid slowing down and we avoid feeling. The mind is very smart to avoid us from feeling and to keep us away from touching those deeper wounds inside ourselves. So Coral here invite us in this south door to really look within, to the nurturing aspect in our life and how we nurture ourselves so we can nurture others. The third card in the West. So that represents how to find the inward answer to that question, to that going in, because here we have been going in. And how do we find that inward answer? And here it's quite interesting because I pick up a card that's Kokopelli. And Kokopelli was a Toltec who came from Aztlan, so it's in the heart of Mexico. And you can see Kokopelli is playing the flute on that card. And Kokopelli represents fertility. So there's a lot of stories on Kokopelli, but what all the stories agree on is that he was the most amazing flute player. There's plenty of myths and legends around it, but he played this Indian flute. And this music was to bring fertility to the land and fertility to the people. That's the music that Kokopelli was playing. And so here in that deck, I sat with it earlier, and we need to understand, okay, what is this fertility aspect for us? What does it mean for us? So it's about the things we want to create. Fertility is about creation. It's about the growth of seeds. So Kokopelli invite us to listen to the flute, to that song of fertility. So we are being asked to use our talents to create fertility in some areas of our life. Maybe things have been slow moving for you, or you've been feeling depressed or things like that. So Kokopelli's song here is telling us that whatever we intend to plan at this moment, right now, this month, that will become something quite productive for us. That's going to be something that is going to create. So maybe you have a project to begin and start thinking about it. And it's a good time when we slow down to just sit with that. In winter, the farmers, and here I grow a lot of food on my land and plants. I don't plant anything, but I look at all my seeds and I start reflecting, what am I going to plant in spring? Because I need to be ready for spring. So I'm not doing that with an energy of impatience or like I want to be in spring. No, I just reflect. I put my seeds out, I look at them, and I sit with it. And we can do that. Nature is again a beautiful mirror. We can do that with ourselves. Maybe you want to look at your skill set, all the things that maybe you would love to nurture this year, to create from. Maybe you're a very creative person. Maybe there's a project that you wanted to start and you've never done it. So start looking on the table at all your seeds, all those beautiful seeds. The seeds are dormant right now in January. They are in the soil. They sucking the waters of the soil. Maybe it's a bit frozen, but they're preparing themselves to be ready for spring. So it's a good moment, and that's the last thing I want to say on that card, to look at your old limiting belief, limiting ideas. I don't know if you have some. I do have some with myself. So what is that limiting things? Because limitation, limited beliefs, they prevent creation, they prevent fertility. And so maybe it's a good time to look at that as we're sitting and look at our seeds. Oh, I can't grow this. That will never work. I'm not good at that. I'm too old. I'm too this or too that. So we all have those limited beliefs for sure. So there's always a lot to look at here. You know, in shamanic work, on this path of walking the red road, like we say, this path is about assessing all aspects of our life with the same love and compassion. Either it's something beautiful in our life or it's something that really creates pain. But we look at all of it. So we look at our limited belief and this self-talk with the same love of compassion as we look at our maybe greatest gift that we know of and that we know we're good at. In the same way. So we can feel them, so they can heal. So there's no bypassing, we cannot avoid looking at those things. We can, we'll just be stagnant. We cannot bring fertility in our life. We cannot have a different life if we keep having the same limiting belief. It's impossible. We need to look at them. And sometimes, most of the time, they're very old because maybe sometime our mother or father told us when we were little, or you do this, or you do that. Be a good boy, be a good girl. Nobody ever heard that, I'm sure, here on the call. So, looking at that with love and compassion. And then we're moving into the fourth card, the north direction. And the north expresses the wisdom that we're going to gain if we follow that wheel here. And the north is also the place of the ancestors, the elders. So it's a place of great healing. And the card that's in the north is a great mystery. That's a great direction to go. I promise you I didn't pick up the card on my own. It just was really random. So it means that's where we're going to arrive if we follow this spread here, if we tap into this spread. So the great mystery is the original source. The great mystery is the creator of the great spirits. So it's the source. So it's different than the great spirit. You heard me maybe in my prayer, I say great mystery, a great spirit. It's a bit different. The great mystery lives in everything and is everything. So it encompasses all of creation. That's why we cannot look at our thing that we don't like with despair or anger, because it's part of the great mystery. All of it. each facet of creation. So the form may change and we might judge the form, but it's always part of that energy of creation of the great mystery. And so here we are invited really to recognize that, to recognize all of creation as part of the great mystery or created by the great mystery. And when I say all of creation, it's not only every single person on this planet, every animals, every plants and trees, but it's also every part of us. Every single part of us, the wounded part and the happy part, the angry part and the grateful one, the part that are very clear and the part that are very confused, the part that feel unity and the part that feel separation, the part that love and the part that push away, the part that trust and the part that fear. So I'm going to invite you to connect to your original intention that you put at the beginning of this call. So bring that intention. And I'm going to invite you to lay down if you can. It's better. You can sit down, it's okay. But if you cannot lay down, and we're going to do a little healing here. So I'm going to use my drum. I'm going to drum. I'm probably going to sing a little bit too. And invite you to connect to that spread, the sacred space, the coral, the fertility, the great mystery, and to bring your intention in it. And just let it flow. Let your mind go random. Let your heart open. Let the music be. And let anything that arise, feelings in your body, especially physical sensation, emotions, let it flow. So welcome everything. That's what I want to say. Everything is welcome in a healing. We're not trying to see angels, colors, ancestors. Maybe we will, and that's fine. We're trying to allow those body to express themselves, to let the drum connect to the rhythm of the earth and the rhythm of the heart. And I invite you to make sure you're breathing as I'm going to drum. So don't hold your breath. Do some good deep breath all the way down to your pelvis and your feet. Make sure you really relax the body. So I can send that energy towards you, but you can also receive it and allow it to come in, allowing the drum to do its magic. Once again, there's nothing we need to do here. We just need to be. El camino ilumina mi corazón, ilumina el camino. Tabaco cura, medicina cura. Tabaco cura, medicina cura, cura, cura. Ayahuasca cura, ayahuasca cura, 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 cura. Wachumakura, wachumakura, kura, kura. Saca niños cura, saca niños cura, 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 cura. Con espíritu, con espíritu, cura, 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 cura. Con espíritu, cura, 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 cura. Abuelo, cura, cura. Abuela cura, abuela cura, cura, cura. Ilumina mi corazón, ilumina el camino. Cura, 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 cura. Ilumina el camino. Cura, 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 cura. Abuelo cura, abuela cura, cura, cura. Abuelo cura, abuela cura, cura, cura. Ilumina mi corazón, mi corazón, mi corazón. Just stay, eyes closed and connected to your bodies. Inviting you to place a hand maybe on one part of your body that needs support. Maybe one part that's calling for nurturing. Maybe it's in your belly, your chest. Staying eyes closed, deep to go deep down inside so you can really feel what's there and connect to the wisdom that is there in that sensation. Asking our bodies what it needs right now. What does this part of me that's calling? What do you want? What do you need from me? And making sure you breathe into that part with your breath. Inhaling, bringing light and space, and exhaling, releasing. Inhaling, bringing light and space, and exhaling. And doing that a few more times. And seeing, witnessing how this sensation maybe shift. Maybe there's a little bit more space as we just bring our attention to it. The only thing the body is asking for is our love and attention. It knows how to heal on its own if we pay attention, if we allow ourselves to feel deeply what's there. The mind might try to take us out like it does all the time, thinking about what time it is, when is this ending, maybe thinking about someone or something. Can we bring all our attention to that part of our body? All our love and compassion there, with our breath and our mind present with it. Asking guidance from our ancestors, guidance from the earth and the elements, guidance from our brother wind, guidance from the trees and the sky. What is there? As we slow down and connect, naturally wisdom arises. The only wisdom doesn't arise is because we don't slow down enough. There's nothing broken in us, no special gift we need to have to connect to the wisdom of the body, where the spirit speaks. And maybe bring another hand, so one hand on this spot that needs support and the other hand on your heart, and connecting them together. As you inhale, bring the energy from the heart into that part. And as you exhale, bring the energy back from that part into your heart. Inhale, going from my heart into this part. Exhaling from that part into my heart. Listening deeply to the body. Allowing any feelings and sensation, any emotion that's present. No emotion is wrong. Every emotion has wisdom if we listen. Keeping breathing between the two, the heart and that part. Asking, what do you want? What do you need from me? Until some wisdom arises. Maybe it's asking you to release something, or relations, or situations, a toxic environment, a certain way of talking to ourselves or to others. Maybe it's showing us where to point our prayers, how to point them. What is there? And now bring your two hearts on your two hands, on your heart. And connecting back to your intention that you brought at the beginning of this call. What has arisen here? How that wisdom of this suffering part maybe is giving space as it releases to that guidance that you want. That focus, that trust, that courage to follow your soul purpose, that patience, that love and compassion, that deeper work of service, that moving The wisdom is there in the body. It always knows. There's nothing to learn. No books, no workshops, nowhere to go to get that wisdom. We carry the seed of creation. We are the great mystery. We are this sacred space. The blood in our veins is a reminder of the coral in the ocean, the blood of the earth. Kokopeli sings its flute so we can keep creating and growing and expanding. So inviting you to take a few deep breaths into this heart. And to open your eyes and just look at the room around. See how it looks like, how it feels like. Maybe the colors, the light. And giving you a few minutes to just write whatever arises during the drumming, during this healing connection to our bodies. Whatever, if you think it's crazy thoughts that you had, write it down. If you don't know how it's related to what happened, write it down. And I want to give you a space to share a little bit. We're going to have only 2 or 3 persons share for a minute. If you feel like it, if anybody feels like sharing, invite you to unmute yourself and just share whatever is alive for you here. Sharing, it's not really for the others, even if we receive your medicine as you share, and it's always very useful for everyone. It's a way to be witnessed. And the way to be witnessed is a way to humble ourselves. And as we humble ourselves, we heal. So just go for it whenever you feel like, hey, you know what? I'd love to have this opportunity to maybe do something a bit vulnerable here. Maybe it's not easy for you to share, to be witness. So if it's not, I'll invite you to do it.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I think I'm not on camera. This is Laura. I just wanted to tell you that that was really powerful tonight. And this is the first time I've join this community, and I've had an intention for probably about 10 or 15 years to deeply and profoundly fall in love with myself, and to, I don't know, basically be clean, bright, and shiny, whatever that means. And it's changed and morphed over all this time, but this is a really powerful time, and I just want to tell you how thankful I was to be part of this.
Thank you, Laura.
So hi, everyone.
Good evening. Renata?
Yes.
Yes.
Me. So a few weeks ago when Ram Dass passed away, I have read somewhere that he had said that he has taken his whole life to nurture his spirit, but he's regretting that he has not nurtured his body. And that's why he thinks he has had a stroke and health issues, because he has neglected his body. So for the past 10 years, I've been struggling with anxiety and panic attacks. And after my stepfather had a stroke in my house. And I have, for some reason, connected blood pressure machine to be something very bad. It signifies death to me. So because of anxiety and panic attacks, I'm scared to hear my heartbeat. And as I was just laying down now, I listen to my heartbeat intently, whether it's too fast or too slow, to see if there's any danger of dying because of high blood pressure that I have developed last few years due to stress. So it's incredible enough that my intention was to take care of my body this year, because I have put so much time into my mind and my spirit. And I think it's time to put intention into my body. And exactly these fears that are coming up about listening to my heartbeat and being scared of that, and being scared of doctors and medications. It's coming up to this, and I know it's the right thing. I need to focus on my body. So I release those fears.
Beautiful. Thank you, sister.
Thank you.
You know, I was, we're in ceremony Friday all night, and the medicine came in with a message to me and about really that it's a time to take care of our bodies because of what's happening on the earth at the moment. That it's going to require a lot of strength. It's going to be very draining on our system emotionally, spiritually, feeling the grief of all what's happening if we allow ourselves to feel all, and that to really be in service of others, which is really why we're here for. We need to spend more time with our bodies and nurturing them. The spiritual practice is taking care of the bodies at this time on this planet, because our bodies, you know, also have been taking so much chemicals and stuff, you know, through the food and the waters and all of that. And it's going to be difficult to take good care of our bodies. But as practitioners, as people that serve, as, you know, spiritual communities, we really need to make that a priority. That's what the medicine was telling, that it's really important. So that really resonate with what you were sharing. So I wanted to add that. Thank you, sister.
Thank you.
Does anybody else want to share one last share?
I wanted to say that after a few minutes, when you were playing the drum, I was, you know, trying to let go of my mind, and I felt the drum beat in my heart. And the song was so beautiful. Whatever you were singing was just so beautiful. It was flowing. It was like a river, you know, like just flowing on the river. It was, that was the feeling that I felt. It was really wonderful. And this morning when I was in yoga class, I had the insight that it was almost like, it's so hard to explain, but anyway, it was like the silence beneath everything that's happening up here or out in the world is what's the top layer, and there's must be the great mystery beneath it, the source beneath it, but it is so quiet and silent. The trees know that because it's so peaceful and silent and still, and it's always there. That's it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jana. Good to see you on the call too. Yeah, it is there. And winter is all about silence. It's very quiet in the woods this afternoon when I was walking there. I went biking and then I sat along the river, the Delaware here. And there was just the wind, very silent in winter. And it's also silent because, there's no plants, there's no leaves, there's no flowers, there's no insect. So there's a deeper quality to the silence, like the 4 a.m. meditation, before everybody wakes up. Yeah, it's very important that we tap into that. And that's how I want to segue, into the last part here before we're closing this call. While I mention it right now, I just mention it, what's going on at the moment. And I've been meeting a lot of people with a lot of feeling hopeless, by what's happening, or feeling angry with what's happening. And so that's a very natural reaction to fight or flight when there is danger. That's a primal first reaction of any animal, like we are, or a primate. And so we react naturally with fight and flight. But the next stage is to go numb. That's when the nervous system is way more activated and overwhelmed. It's a self mechanism of protection that's also natural. But the way to stay connected, to continue feeling, and to be able to heal ourselves and not be damaged or becoming sick because of what's happening, is to stay engaged, meaning connected to each other. Is to talk, to connect, to look in the eyes, to be present. And if some of you know Meg Whitley, who writes beautiful books, and I invite you to check on her. But she said that if everything is gone one day, what is going to be left is each other. And to me, that's the inspiration of what we're doing here. It's reminding ourselves that we will have each other. That's what's there. And so it's our call and our duty as we heal our souls, as we heal our bodies, to stay connected when everything will push us to disconnect, to judge, to be angry, to separate. And that's not something that is owned by non-spiritual people. It's very easy to think we are spiritual and they're not, and that somehow we carry more wisdom. There's wisdom everywhere. And so we have a call to stay connected. And the wind, grandfather wind, the north direction, that direction of the ancestors, that direction of all our relations, two-legged, one-legged, four-legged, winged ones, furry ones, creepy crawlers, all of that is a prayer of unity that invite us to connect with each other. Winter is a little bit like everything is gone. Everything is going, preparing for coming back. That's the wisdom of the winter. But the trees still have each other in the forest. The soil and the trees, the mushroom and the trees, the river and the edge of the river, the sky and the trees, the birds, and us. So that's the practice here for this month. Connect to your sacred space. This sacred space within, like Renata was sharing, this body. The sacred space without, which is everywhere if you make it without, if you make it special and sacred. Inviting you to find this power place, this place of power for you. Where is that? Because that's the time we're preparing here. We're preparing for what's coming. We're preparing ourselves. So we need to take all the steps with a mindful way, with loving and kindness, with care and compassion for this world that's suffering. Suffering does not require more anger. Suffering does not require hopelessness. Suffering does not require judgment and separation. All the opposite of that. That's hard. That takes courage and that takes practice. It doesn't come naturally, like I said earlier. Natural reaction, fight, flight, numb, addictions, overeating, watching TV, whatever it is. So embracing the opposite. Be conscious of that. Be mindful of it. So we can stay connected. For me, the way I do it the most is every time I witness judgment. Every time I disconnect. I know where my work is. I don't even need to sit with a tree for that. I know, I look at my trigger. I'm like, okay, that's where my work is. That's a pointer. That's a great spirit in me, the great mystery pushing me. Say, hey, look what happened. And the more human we are, the more divine we are in that process. The more human you're going to be, the more divine you're going to be. It's not a seeking being divine. It's seeking being human. So we can tap into this divine space. The more we humble ourselves. So I'm going to make a closing prayer for this time together. I want to thank all of you for coming on the call tonight. I hope you enjoy and you had some good fruits that came out of it. We're doing that every month. So the next one is early February. If you're around New York, feel free to come visit here at the sanctuary. Thanks for all of you that joined. Thank you for your donation that you made for this call, so we can, keep doing that work. Please invite people. People can join. It's free. If they want to make a donation, they can. But it's not about the money here. But it's about having people that really need to hear that, because that's not on HBO or on Netflix most of the time. So we need to go find this wisdom. So we're responsible to gather our families, our communities, our brothers and sisters, So thank you so much. And I invite you to join in this prayer. And just to dive in, I'm going to thank all the spirits and all of us that join here tonight. Oh, great spirit, great mystery. Thank you so much for this life, for this day, this breath, this body. Thank you for being alive in such a special time. Thank you for bringing your guidance and your wisdom. Thank you for showing us where the wisdom is, how to point our prayers. Thanking the grandmothers and the grandfathers of the East, Grandfather Fire, for his prayer of gratitude, for bringing light where we need to see, for burning away what needs to be released. Thanking Grandfather Puma and Grandmother Jaguar for guiding this direction, for showing us how to walk with the fire, gently, softly. Thanking the grandmothers and the grandfather of the West, Grandmother Water. Thank you, Grandmother, for your gift of life, for your clear reflection, for your flow, showing us how to let go and to flow like a beautiful river. Thank you for your vibration, your wisdom. Thanking Grandfather Eagle and Grandmother Condor. Thank you to show us how to fly high, close to the Great Spirit, and still see the important details. Know how to focus our life, but never lose track of the big picture. Thanking the grandmothers and the grandfather of the North, Grandfather Wind. Thank you, Grandfather, for bringing your wisdom into our hearts, for carrying our prayers to the Creator. Thank you to our ancestors and all our relations that came before us. Thank you for their gift and their sacrifice. Thank you, Grandfather dear, for carrying this beautiful prayer of unity, reminding us that there is no others. It's all an illusion. Reminding us that this life is not about us, it's about the others. Thanking the grandmothers and the grandfather of the South, Grandmother Earth. Thank you, Grandmother, Mother of all Mother. Thank you for your prayer of love, of unconditional love, showing us how to love, how to give, without expecting anything in return. Thank you for our food, our waters, the animals and the forest. Thank you for all of your creation and your beauty. Thanking Grandmother Snake for guarding this gate, for showing us how to walk on the earth like you, Grandmother, softly, gently, showing us how to shed our skin with trust and faith. Thanking Grandmother Spider for weaving such a perfect tapestry between each and every one of us, between every relations, showing us that everything is connected. Thanking the spirit of the bull, Grandfather Sky, Grandmother Moon, star beings, beings beyond the stars. Thank you for bringing your lights and your wisdom. Thank you for watching upon us as we learn to walk on this earth, as we learn to remember your prayers. Thanking the great spirits of below the ground, civilization under the ground, spirit animals, for their guidance and their wisdom, showing us how to go deep within, to go into our roots, to listen to the wisdom that is there. Thank you to each and every one of you for bringing your wisdom, your heart, your bodies and your breath into this circle, into this community. Aho. Thank you, everyone. Sending so much blessing to each and every one of you. The call will be uploaded and shared. So if you want to go back to it and redo some of the exercise and listen to the drum journeys, feel free to use that. And I very much look forward to seeing you in a month. I'll be doing this call from Australia, where I'm going. It's a special time to go at the moment. Going to see the forest and the animals and what's happening, and giving some of my time for that. So I'll connect with you from the other side, and wishing you a beautiful month of January. And go out, go find this sacred space, slow down, listen to the wind. Much love. Thank you so much.